Welcome to Caregiving Club on air. So I am so thrilled to have our guest on, who is Saudia Gajadhar, who is the Chief Happiness Officer of Comfort Keepers. I've always said I love that title. I think it's the best title out there. But Saudia is joining us again this year. She was on with us last year to tell us about the latest survey that Comfort Keepers has just done for their National Day of Joy coming up on June 26th. Saudia, welcome back to Caregiving Club on Air.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for including me today.
Yeah, of course. Well, this is always such a great, conversation, and we get to talk about lots of good, positive stuff that's happening. But, before we dive into the survey results, just again for our audience, tell us a little bit about what Comfort Keepers does, what kind of services that you provide for older adults and family caregivers.
Oh, yes, of course. So, Comfort Keepers is a leading provider of in home care for seniors and any adults that need assistance in being able to stay in the comfort of their own homes. So, whether that's mobility assistance, transportation, maybe nutrition, errands, any of those types of things, we help with that, medication reminders. But Comfort Keepers is different than other in home care providers because we focus on joy, connection, positivity. We like to say we like to focus on what's possible instead of limitations. And we think that makes a real difference in people's lives that, maybe that's something they're so excited to hear about when usually it's sometimes a negative experience to think about when your parents might start needing in-home care. The adult children that we work with, they are trying to figure it out. They are struggling. They're trying to understand how best to navigate their parents aging. And lots of times they're not as prepared because there's just not a lot of conversations out there in this country about how to help your aging loved ones, sort of navigate their later years. They just want to stay positive. We know that those adult daughters who tend to be the one who are more often going to be that primary family caregiver, they are struggling with what to do. They just want to stay that adult daughter. They want to maintain that relationship. So that's one of the things that we try to focus on the most is again, maintaining that possibility, that positivity, and that's such a welcome message. So it's so interesting because I am actually an adult daughter of, older parents myself. My mom's 80, my dad's 89. My mom, she's so great. Our family heritage is that my parents are from Guyana in South America. And so we have it's a very Indian heritage and culture. So the very favorite thing that my mom makes for me is curry. We live in different states on different coasts. So I don't get to see her all that often. So when I see her, we just like to do some of those things that we love. And she loves to make curry for me. It's my favorite dish. And I love it. But so my mom, even though she's in good health, she's had 3 knee replacements, if you can count that. And she actually needs another one. So I really want her not to be in pain. So cooking curry is very involved. And I have really just struggled with having her do that for me. I'm like, Mom, no, let's go out to dinner. Let me cook for you or let me help you. And she just would get really mad, Sherri. And she would be like, no, I'm really making it for you. And then I think it's actually the work that we started doing with Comfort Keepers that made me realize that the best thing I could do for her is let her be that mom and take care of me. So now it's fine. I have no guilt. I let her make me curry. She cooks, she cleans up, and I have to sit in a chair, and that's what she wants. And it has brought her so much joy. You can totally see the benefit of why that's important.
Yeah, and I love that story, and I'm so glad that you shared that with us. We've talked before. My mom's turning 80 this year too.
Mhm.
Hope she doesn't mind that I'm telling her age here, but I think there's something about when our parents get older, we're so focused on their physical health, we forget that the social, side of health, which is staying connected with us, doing the things they've always loved to do, is so important for our older parents. And you don't want to take that away. I mean, it might be a little tougher, like you said, for your mom to be on her feet while she's cooking and cleaning up, but it brings her joy. And that is really kind of the topic of the day today that we're going to talk about. And I think it's wonderful that Comfort Keepers also focuses on that because again, we often think of, a home care agency is coming in and thinking about the health and the medical issues that the older adult has, and not necessarily always thinking about their social health and their emotional health, which you guys really focus on and is really terrific. So let's dive into the survey. Now, this is the 6th year that you've been doing this survey around joy and happiness, and it is for the National Day of Joy, which we'll kind of talk about at the end. But tell us a little bit about this year's survey and what were some of the key findings that you saw?
Yeah, well, we started doing the survey because we established this annual Day of Joy 6 years ago. Because we wanted our brand promise is elevating the human spirit, which is really, again, about that joy, the connection, the positivity. And for us, having a day, and for us, it's the last Wednesday of June every year. And so this year it is on June 26th. So sometimes we do this accompanying survey to just showcase and validate the importance of positivity in our everyday lives. Because people forget as you're going around your day-to-day life, gosh, maybe I just need to stop and take a minute. So this year's theme is the power of positivity for all the reasons that we just talked about. We actually surveyed 2,000 adults this year, and focusing on positivity, it just helped us and it gave us a few key insights that I think are really helpful. It's really important to remember what positivity does for us, not only mentally, but physically, because I guarantee it doesn't matter how old we are, we all want the same things in our lives. Whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60, you want joy, you want positivity, you want love, you want purpose, your connection. And I guarantee you that doesn't change when you become 70 or 80. You just don't all of a sudden, like, no, I don't need that anymore. I just want to be kept safe and secure in my home. We know that's not true. But sometimes we, as industry professionals or adult children, we sort of forget that for a minute, right? And because we are so focused on solving this problem of making sure that our loved ones don't fall or something bad doesn't happen to them, that we start thinking about them as a problem to be solved instead of that whole person. And the moment you step back and thinking about the love and the joy and all those things and the memories that they can still make, it can make a huge difference. So, for example, we know that social isolation can actually be as bad for somebody as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's AARP research that tells us that. So it's profound, the physical power of positivity. And you know this more than anybody. So we know that socialization and interaction and little moments of joy actually increases longevity. It can actually reduce depression and actually reduce falls. It can actually, it can prolong or, it can actually help with Alzheimer's and dementia in terms of, you know, reducing how fast that will, take effect.
Yeah, and I love that because again, even with our own selves, as we think about getting older and everything, when you're surrounded by messaging that makes you feel more frail, more vulnerable, people are treating you like, here, let me help you with everything. It almost like reinforces a helplessness, right? Whereas staying vital and just helping people where they need help, but again, that positivity I think is so key. Now, a couple of findings that I want to get to that I really loved. First of all, you did or found in the survey that there was a great percentage of adult children who consider their older parent their best friend. I love that because I think of my mom as my best friend. But tell us a little bit about that and also some of the other key findings that you had.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, more than half of adult children report that their parent is their best friend. I just love hearing that. I was actually surprised to hear that that was such a high percentage. But then, literally, as soon as we got those survey results, I was speaking with one of my colleagues, and she was actually telling me that her grandmother is her best friend, literally her best friend. And that was great to hear. She was telling me about some of the traditions because, when you hear a stat like that, it's so important to think about how just to maintain those social connections and how important it is and the positive benefits on you as the adult child in terms of your happiness and your connection, as well as on that senior loved one. So my colleague was telling me that every Sunday she gets on a call or a Zoom with her grandmother and they watch TV together at the same time, so synchronized watching. And they were recently watching the entire series of Downton Abbey because that's what her grandmother really loved. And I
I
just
love that.
so much. And some of those things and that best friends, it's born out of those traditions that it's so important to keep and remember. So for her, she was just reminiscing about how she would, I guess, prepare the long beans on the porch with her grandmother all the time, and some of those warm traditions that sort of created that bonding that had led to that just really awesome Sunday night that she just never misses.
Well, and again, it's not like, Grandma, how are you feeling? Grandma, let me help you do this. It's creating these new memories, right?
Yeah,
That we
exactly.
get. And I think both sides really benefit. We've seen so many studies that show that, grandparents who spend more time with their grandchildren, the older adult feels more relevant. They feel like they can share their wisdom, of living longer with their young grandkids. And the grandkids actually get a better sense of resiliency because they know who they are, where they came from. They hear about the stories of how grandma and grandpa, walked to school in the snow. That's like the famous story. We always hear it on
Yeah.
Grandma's, right?
Both
But
ways uphill.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is that it kind of it says to us, okay, other people have struggled and had challenges as well, but they got through it. And I think that's such a great message. One of the things that I just want to touch on here is some of the interesting findings that the adult children didn't realize maybe that their parent had done this or played a musical instrument or
Yeah.
whatever. So tell us about that finding. That was really great.
Yeah. So we know that actually over half of them said that they learned new things about their parents. And so some of them were really surprising, like maybe there was something significant in their personal lives, like they were married or maybe had a significant other that they never knew about. Many of them actually said that their parent had participated in a historical event. Actually, most commonly, it was World War II, which is such an interesting finding. And I think this
Yeah.
one is cute that a lot of them didn't even know that their parents actually had hidden little keepsakes from their past that they kept, or that they had hidden talents like singing or dancing or something like that, which it's just so great to think about all the things you don't know. Because again, you think about your parent is a whole person with memories and all those joys and everything that you are, but sometimes you just forget that they lived those full, really interesting and adventurous lives. And there's we talked about the benefit to us as adult children and others. Actually, 88% of them said that doing activities with their aging loved one or their parent actually helped give them a positive impact. So we knew that there was such a benefit to that. Um, it's just profound.
Well, I think that's great because, again, I think sometimes we look at aging as, it's this decline, it's about disease or disability or whatever, and it doesn't obviously have to be. There's been other studies that have been done that show that we actually are happiest in our late 70s and 80s, even happier than when we were in our 20s, which always is a little surprising, but that U curve of happiness is something that a lot of people talk about. The US Surgeon General just came out with a report actually today that talked about social media and the impact on teens, and the fact that teens are spending anywhere between 4 and 8 hours a day on social media. And this is really exacerbating a lot of the mental health issues. Now, I want to flip that script because you actually found some really positive aspects of social media to help older adults stay connected to their loved ones. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, for sure. We talked about, the impact on the teens. Social media is a great way for teens to bond with their grandparents because believe it or not, our seniors are on social media. Three-quarters of those adult children say that they use social media to stay connected to their parents. Their parents are on social media, even at, more advanced years. And two-thirds of them say that their parents actually use social media to stay connected to people from their past. They get it.
Mhm.
So they are, that stimulation of your memory and the things that are important to you and it has such a positive impact on our brains. They say that their seniors actually use social media to learn about new things. So
Yeah.
there's a positive benefit to that.
And we know the lifelong learning piece is another, again, it's that positive looking forward that helps keep us living longer and living healthier and happier. It's interesting that you say they connect with people maybe from their past. I remember years ago, I had done a TV pilot, and it was with a World War II veteran who had been at the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
And he actually he got a little computer coaching from his grandson, and he was able to reconnect with his buddies that had been in that battle in World War II with him that he hadn't spoken to
Oh,
in,
wow.
50 or 60. Yeah, it was just amazing. So you're right. There's that power of technology to connect us, which I think is really positive. And hopefully we could just restrain people from, feeling the negative impacts of social media. I think if you can take a lesson from your grandparents, it's that, don't sweat the small stuff, and use it to connect, but not to feel bullied or anything else that's going on. um we talk about positivity, and that really was the focus of your survey and the focus of what Comfort Keepers does. Tell us a little bit about some of those findings, and why is that important for our overall health and longevity?
Yeah, actually, you hear so much about people dreading their older years or dreading aging, and there's some negative perceptions about it. So it was so great to hear the opposite in this survey, because two-thirds of adult children said that their parents had a positive attitude about aging. And that was flipped into several very tangible things. Number one, it improved their mood. The adult children reported that. It made their parents want to be more active because they felt more positive about what was going on with their lives, and also that they wanted to try new things. So those were three very important things that I think that being positive actually can help facilitate and foster in our senior loved ones. And again, all of that actually helps to improve longevity. Those little moments of positivity and joy and all of that mindset can actually help us thrive and live later in life.
Yeah. And so now let's kind of shift gears a bit. I want to talk a little bit about the activities around National Day of Joy and what Comfort Keepers helps create for that special day. And again, going back to the survey, I noticed that there were some concerts that older adults and their parents go to together. You mentioned the cooking with your mom, and that's such a special, aspect of family life and all that. But tell us a little bit about what are the activities then that you're helping to promote and kickstart on the National Day of Joy on June 26th.
So we have offices all over the country, and over 100 of them are celebrating in all kinds of different ways. And some of the fun things that are doing are, one office is having a joy ride on the water, like a joy cruise, complete with music and entertainment. We have a lot of offices doing things like ice cream socials, luau's, actually taking ice cream trucks out into the community, even with seniors, et cetera, which is great. We have garden parties. We have actually, my favorite one is senior proms. We have a couple offices doing senior proms this year, complete with kings and queens and the whole deal. And we would just ask that everybody think about on June the 26th to stop and remember how important joy is for you and others. Do something, first of all, to bring yourself joy, whether it's something big or something small, and then do something to bring joy to others. And let's think about all the joy and positivity we can spread. And you know what? We would love it if you would post about it on social media and use the hashtag National Day of Joy so we can see what an impact and how far our message is spreading.
What I love about that, and you celebrate this at least, every year, obviously, and we want to have those moments or have those activities we can look forward to. I think it becomes so important as we get older. Again, it's great to certainly connect and visit and stay socially connected and all that, but to have an event that you're looking forward to as you get older, and there's not as many of those events around, to me is just that's kind of this whole surge of joy to be able to have something like that to plan for and to get excited about, which is wonderful. And you guys are so great for doing that. Is there anything else, Sadia, that we didn't cover, maybe on, activities or anything from the survey that we missed that's really important?
I think that those are the most important things. Again, it's the theme is the power of positivity. If you remember nothing else, remember that. that little moment of ways that you can stay positive and help your senior loved ones stay positive will make such a difference in every single aspect of their life and their longevity.
And that is a great message for all of us.
Yeah,
it's great for our
me
elders. It's a
too.
great,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. I was going to say anybody listening to this podcast is going to get something out of that. So tell us again where our listeners can find information about Comfort Keepers and the National Day of Joy.
Oh, for sure. Just go to comfortkeepers.com. We actually have the survey there with some information about the National Day of Joy. And you can learn more about Comfort Keepers and how it is that we bring joy to others, how we our caregiving services, and also where you can find us because we're in offices all over the country.
Which is so terrific. And again, it's just such a pleasure to have you back to talk about joy because what a great topic. It's one of my favorite topics. And, we'll have you back next year to tell us what the survey results are next year. But thank
That's
you,
great.
Saudia, for
Thank you so
joining
much.
us.
This brings me joy.
Yeah, me too. All right. Have a great one.
Bye bye.